Mick Mulvaney joins us right now, the former acting White House Chief of Staff, former OMB Director. Mick, I was thinking of you, knowing we were chatting today, that the president has a couple of percentage boost in defense spending, but when you include inflation, it's actually not an increase. So I'm wondering, given these latest developments, particularly with China, should that number be ratcheted up for defense?
Yeah, Neil, and I listened to your introduction where apparently I was going to get on here and argue for even more defense spending, which means you don't know me very well. I've been believing for a long period of time that money is not the issue here. Money was not the reason that we botched the Afghanistan withdrawal. Money is not the reason that we have the issues that we have in Ukraine. There's plenty of money. So I cringe when I hear people say, well, if we're going to defend Taiwan, we need another couple $100 billion. We're only a couple years away from spending $1 trillion a year on defense. So I don't want to look at this as an excuse to simply say, oh, we care a lot about this subject, so let's spend a lot of money. We can project power in a bunch of other ways. We can project competency and commitment in a bunch of other ways than just plussing up the number. Keep in mind, you had an accurate fact on your introduction where you said there's almost $19 billion that we're behind in delivering to the Taiwanese. That's not an issue of plussing up our budget. It's an issue of properly spending the money we've already appropriated or they've already spent with us. So now, do not count me amongst those who say that we solve this by simply spending more money, because if that was the only, if we could solve problems that way, we wouldn't have any problems.
Well, you raised a lot of good points right there. You know, I would be curious, though, what you make now of where we stand with China. I always say that, you know, it's easy to talk tough with China, and they do take advantage of us. And you've, of course, outlined this back to your days in Congress. There's no mystery to what they're doing. But I rarely find, a public official who'll go the extra mile to say and warn or prepare to warn the American people, we're going to have to get tough, and you're going to have to pay for it. In other words, you're going to pay more for a lot of goods you're used to getting. But the more China surrounds Taiwan, the more China keeps this provocative behavior going, you can't reward it. So we have to sort of suck it up to deal with this. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you asked the exact right question of Congressman Mills, which is the public ready for that? If it comes to that, are they ready to pay more? Are they ready to have certain goods harder to get? And I think the answer is, if they're not there already, they're getting there. Keep in mind, Washington most of the time doesn't lead, it sort of follows. And the one thing right now that you sort of got bipartisan support for right now in Washington, D.C. is this antipathy towards China. That's not coming from the top down. That's what folks are hearing back in their districts. Donald Trump certainly did a lot to sort of activate that movement in both parties when he ran in 2016 to sort of take the first president in a long time to sort of take a skeptical view of China. So if the American public is not there, they're getting there, as evidenced by the fact that Washington is getting there as well.
The thought has always been, as you know, Mick, that we don't want to hurt ourselves and we don't want to hurt our business interests. So we don't want to do anything that shatters that, which is why you hear Tim Cook in China talking about continued relations and make more iPhones in the region. You hear Elon Musk, expanding that manufacturing commitment. What do you think of those two guys leading this effort not to break away from China?
Yeah, I don't want to single them out. I will tell you that there was a steady stream of Fortune 500 CEOs coming into the White House when I was there, saying that we were being too harsh with China. I think we have to recognize, Neil, that corporate America has a couple of places where their interests are not entirely aligned with the national interests. The quarter-to-quarter sort of management and not taking a longer-term view is different, I think, in corporate America than what it should be in Washington, D.C. This idea that, in the long run, it might be good for corporate America to sell some more iPhones this quarter, but where does that leave us as a country 5 and 10 years down the road? So, yeah, one of the natural forces against the decoupling will be corporate America. That's fine. That's part of the debate. It needs to be part of the debate. But I think we need to realize that the United States Chamber of Commerce is not entirely aligned with, where the rest of the country might be when it comes to dealing with China, and that just needs to be part of the debate.
Mick, while I have you, and I always ask a political question, and you're always patient with it, but Chris Christie over the weekend had said Donald Trump, your old boss, is the only guy who could lose to Joe Biden. I think we lost you, but can you still hear me?
You're loud and clear.
Okay. All right. What do you think of that? That Donald Trump, as the nominee, would be a certain loser.
I'm glad that Chris Christie's been listening to me for a change. I've been saying that for about 6 months. I think Donald Trump is uniquely situated in that he would be the only Republican who could lose to Joe Biden. Why do I say that? Not because I hate the president. You know, folks accuse me of that. It's a simple sort of objective analysis. If Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, then I think the 2024 election becomes a referendum on Donald Trump, just the same way that 2020 was. It's not going to make any difference at all who's on the other side on the Democrat ticket, because folks are either going to vote for Donald Trump or against Donald Trump. And I've said from the very beginning, one of the few people that can actually beat Donald Trump in an election is Donald Trump. And I think he loses that personal referendum. And that's why I think he's uniquely situated to lose to any Democrat in 2024, and the party be better off with a different Republican at the top of the ticket, because I don't think any other candidate really has a legitimate chance of losing against Biden, given the current numbers.
Interesting. And you have been out of the field saying just that. Mick Mulvaney, always good chatting with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.